Now it's time for the Voice for the Industry podcast.
I was really excited about Breanna's episode, but I actually ended up enjoying it more than I thought I would.
Yeah, no, it was very interesting to learn about how business started with her dad and her brother now. It was a really insightful episode.
Yeah, and I thought Ann, she made a really good point about making sure you take time, enjoy your life. You know, there's more to life than work. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I think everybody else will too.
Yes, I agree. You'll hear about her scuba diving in Wisconsin.
There you go. I still don't understand how that works. All right, here we go, everybody. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Voice for the Industry podcast, proudly sponsored, created, and owned by Voice for Pest. I am very, very happy to announce that our guest today is Breanna Neerland from Quick Kill Pest Control. Breanna is, I've known her for a long time, and this is going to be an amazing podcast. How you doing, Breanna?
I'm doing great. No pressure with starting out on that amazing podcast, right, Raymond?
Well, yeah, no, but I know you're up for it. I know I can set the bar high, and you're going to go over it. So, and we can edit it out. But anyway, all right. So let me tell the folks a little bit about you. I've got your bio here, so we'll get started with that. Breanna is the vice president of Quick Kill Pest Control, a family-owned company established in 1979. Since switching career paths from microbiology, wow, that's a big switch, to pest control in 2015, Breanna has worked her way from service technician up to your current role of vice president. She not only oversees all day-to-day processes, but also constantly strives for the highest possible efficiency, both in the office and on the road. Breanna encourages continuous education and learning, not only within Quick Kill, but also within the pest management industry. Breanna holds 4 state certifications. She is a state of Wisconsin master technician, and she earned her ACE in April of 2021. Pretty impressive. Breanna has been highlighted in both Pest Management Professional and Pest Control Technology magazine, and has spoken at multiple conferences, both virtual and in person. In 2022, Breanna received the MPMA Impact Award for Women in Pest Management and the Denny Nauman Professional Empowerment Grant. That sounds pretty cool. In March 2025, Breanna graduated from the National Pest Management Association's Executive Leadership Program. She's also the treasurer for the Wisconsin Pest Control Association. She founded and currently chairs the Wisconsin chapter of Professional Women in Pest Management. Breanna co-chairs the WPCA Social Media Committee, is Wisconsin State Policy and Affairs Representative, and sits on the Public Policy and Marketing to Membership Committees of the MPMA. When she isn't working, Breanna enjoys traveling and adventuring with her husband, Zach, and their dogs, Bullet and Cora. From snowboarding to scuba diving, there is never a dull moment. All right, so the first question I have is, when do you sleep?
Not very much. I'm one of those people that's always been able to run on very few hours of sleep, so that helps me out quite a bit with all the different adventures that I get myself into, for sure.
Awesome, yeah. And I'm one of the blessed too. I get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep there, so I get it. That's awesome. Well, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, and thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to be doing this podcast with you.
Great. Well, all right. Well, let's jump right in then. You and your brother took over a family-owned company, and we're going to talk today in general just about that overall. But more specifically, you know, there's a lot of struggles with transitions, family transitions, and then also, you know, sibling relationships. So we're going to kind of get into how you guys manage through all that, and we're just going to start off with the beginning. Kind of tell us about the background of the company, and then how things transpire where you and your brother kind of transitioned over to the ownership of it.
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite stories to tell. And actually, I still do our new hire orientation because I love to tell this story. So we started as a one-man operation. My dad, Bob, started the company in 1979, and he did it to provide a good living for his family. He wanted to have the means to be able to support my gymnastics and, Ryan's soccer and all the different events and everything that happens with kids. And he did so very successfully. My mom worked part-time in the business, just kind of helping him out as needed. But she had her own part-time position because she had to get health insurance for the family. So We started that way. He ran it solo. He didn't want to bring in team members and have honestly, the headache that employees can bring sometimes. And so when Ryan started to join the business, he came into it actually working in summers while he was in high school still, and got his feet wet, decided he really liked it, and then went to college, got some more business experience with college, came back and had the aspirations to grow the business. He didn't want to just run it as a 1 to 2 man operation. He wanted to have a true organization and company and team members and all of the things that we have now, actually.
Yeah.
So he came in, he was full-time starting in 2006. And then in 2011, we hired our first team member, who I am happy to say is still with us as our service manager today.
That's impressive. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're very proud of that and the longevity that we've had with not only that team member, but a lot of our team members as well. And then I joined in 2015, and my journey, you mentioned I came from microbiology. I had to graduate to bigger bugs. That's what I like to say.
That's right.
But, I tried my own thing and decided that I wanted to be a part of something bigger that I wasn't going to be able to do in the industry I was in. So I joined the family business as a technician in 2015. Very quickly kind of started to make my mark on the company. And where I came in, Ryan is amazing with all of the business operations as far as growth and promoting that growth and the strategic planning. But our operations had gotten to a point where they needed my touch. I do really well with efficiencies, driving into like the technology side of things, everything. So my big push actually came in 2019 into 2020, when I decided to take us mobile and paperless.
Oh, okay. That's a
Previous
big
to that,
step.
it
Yeah.
is, yes.
Yeah.
Previous to that, we were running tables still to look at for appointments and had all the route cards lined up. It's crazy to think
Wow.
about at this point. So that's when I kind of started to make my true touch on the company. And ever since, Ryan and I have been running with it, and we continue to grow year over year. We have good sustainable growth, and that's where we plan on continuing to go as we move forward too.
Wow. Well, that's a great story. So Ryan's obviously your older brother.
Yes, he's
Right.
3 years
Okay.
older than me.
3 years older. Okay. But he pretty quickly knew he wanted to go into the business, whereas you wanted to go try the little tiny bugs you can't see without a microscope, and realize it's a lot easier and more fun to deal with the bigger ones. So that makes a lot of sense. So let me ask you this. Now, you guys obviously working together well now. Things are successful. How were you able to manage like the sibling relationship and make that work within business owners, because it's a vastly different relationship? So what were some of the things you guys were maybe had to make decisions to do or put aside, or how did you make that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our relationship it's changed a lot over the years. As children, I always like to say we were horrible. Like, I don't know how my parents did it. We fought constantly all the time. Um, and then as we got into teenagers and kind of that young adulthood, we became best friends, and we had very similar friend groups. We started to travel together. We go scuba diving together. We kind of do all of this different stuff together, to the point where actually people at one point were like, "You and your brother are closer than most siblings than I know." I'm like, "It's my best friend. What are you talking about?" Um, and I think that strength of that relationship has been really important for us as we've moved into, running a business together. Because without that base and that friendship and really knowing how each other operates and what works and what doesn't, that's when things get kind of hairy and hard. So
Right.
we've been very successful in it. It's not to say that we don't have our disagreements. I think any siblings or business partners do. But we're able to really navigate it with that friendship being the base of our working relationship or professional relationship as well.
That's awesome. Does either one of you have like the final authoritative vote? Like, if you guys absolutely disagree, this is Ryan the one that says, "Okay, but this is how we're doing it," or have never had that had to come up?
We haven't gotten there. I guess in
Okay.
theory he technically could, but we make all of these decisions for
Right.
business moving forward together. Um, another thing that really plays to our success is that we are very different while we're very similar. So his areas where he's maybe not as strong is where I thrive. Operations, efficiency, all of that. And he's so strong on that business development side, and I'm still learning a lot of that side too. So we balance each other very nicely, where when we don't disagree, it's like, okay, well, whose bucket does this fall into?
Right.
And you kind of got to take that person's word and trust them.
And you're the podcast bucketer
I'm
in
the
the
podcast bucket
yes, yeah,
today.
well,
Yes.
yeah, awesome, because he was invited, yes, for the record.
he these things aren't quite his thing,
Right.
but I did share all the questions with him, and we kind of generated some answers together
All
too.
right,
So
awesome.
he's got his touch coming in here.
All right, wonderful. Well, I'm glad. All right. Well, that's great. So let's talk a little bit about how, balancing like the legacy and the innovation. You said your dad, he started the company. He didn't want to deal with the hassle of anything. So he ran it, was very successful, supported his family. You and your brother came in and said, thanks, Dad, but we're going to take this thing and make it happen. Right. So how did you just talk about balancing that, the legacy and the innovation and kind of the things you did to kind of stay true to your dad's, vision of the company and what it meant to him, and then able to make it and expand it.
Yeah. So my dad really gave us such a strong foundation to build off of. He developed the values. He kind of developed how the community sees us. And that's really important because the community knows us as that small family business, very personalized service, knowing your customers. And dad set all of those values for us. He gave us this wonderful foundation, kind of, I guess I like to kind of say more of like the roots of the foundation, right? He made those roots, and now we use those to help keep us grounded, but they don't need to define who we are as a company too. So we always maintain those values. Even as we grow, we want to keep that nice personal touch, that small family feel that our customers are used to. And that comes into, having the same technician running the route. And so they get to know their customers and own their route and everything. It's able to be done. You just have to make sure that you really hold those values near and dear to your heart. So we started with that. Dad gave us that wonderful foundation. And then as we've grown, we were able to start bringing in things that, maybe dad wasn't as comfortable with, more technology. I mentioned the mobile and paperless, and kind of just all those little features that basically outgrew what dad was used to being able to do. And that's kind of where we were able to start making our own touches, like grow it beyond where they're comfortable. And then they say, you kids are running it. You're doing a great job. Keep going, helps to kind of hold that, have that background with them though, too.
Yeah. I like what you said. The roots provide you the foundation, but you're not restrained by them,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, they keep you grounded, but
Yeah,
that doesn't mean your growth has to be hindered.
right. And that was is Dad still around? Does he pop in and say, "Keep up the good work," and drive? What's he doing?
Both mom and dad are fully retired now.
Oh,
Actually,
nice.
dad retired in 2019, and we were able to retire mom this year. So
Oh,
January
all
1st
right.
was her retirement date. And yeah, they're still around. They still like to get their updates and hear about how things are going. But when it comes to the business itself and the running and the operations and the strategic growth and plan, they don't have a part in that part anymore. So, but they're here. They like to get the updates. They come to our family picnic and our year in review, kind of all of those things. They get to see the team as we grow, and that's really cool too.
Oh, that's
And every
awesome.
once in a while, Bob just randomly pops in, and then it's like, "What are you doing here today, Dad?" But
Yeah, yeah. We
gotta
have a
love it,
schedule.
show
Yeah,
grace. Yep,
yeah.
exactly.
That's
It's his
really
baby too, so.
yeah. That's pretty funny. Um, well, are there? I want to start talking a little about like what you're doing in the industry and in your community. But before we head off in that direction, any advice or any pointers you can give to other family-owned pest control companies where they're getting ready to kind of launch into that next generation?
Succession isn't easy. I don't care how good you are, how close you are as a family, it is not easy. Um, And what that comes down to is there's a lot of emotion involved. You don't necessarily think about how each party feels about their piece of the business. Um, for us, we're not an overly emotional family. We're very kind of happy-go-lucky. If you know me and my personality, I get it from my parents, and my brother's the same. Um, and when we started getting into those conversations, a lot of emotions came up that we weren't expecting. So keep in mind that it is emotional. You do have to look at everything from each person's point of view and try to understand where they're coming from. Um, and the other thing that's really important is making sure to set boundaries too, having those business conversations in a business environment at that set time. Don't let it dictate family dinners or, bore the heck out of your spouses because
Right.
they're not in it. So setting those boundaries and also acknowledging each other's emotions and where everybody's at, I think that allows for a successful succession journey. But it's not easy. Even if you think it's going to be easy for your family dynamic, there will be challenges that you just have to make sure you're balancing everybody and acknowledging where everybody's at too.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of families that can't do it. They end up, they just can't make it work. And I really like that, keep the family time, apart, pass the peas. And why did you do that today? You don't want, yeah, you don't want that. So I think that's great advice. Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. Well, as we heard in your bio, you're doing a lot of stuff in the industry, locally, nationally. So just kind of walk us through your activity across the industry. And I'm really excited to hear about how you started the chapter of the Professional Women in Pest Management. So just kind of tell us what you've been up to and what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I do a lot as we heard.
Yeah.
I have a tendency to throw a lot of hats on because if I see something that could use a little bit of a touch of improvement, I always like to be able to leave my mark. But PWIPM was really my first touch into industry involvement. And starting the Wisconsin chapter, I have to give a shout out to the New England chapter actually on this. They were my inspiration. I I kind of came across the New England chapter during COVID actually, and they were doing a lot of virtual events, lunch and learns, all happy hours. So I started jumping onto those, and I found a community of women that I didn't even know existed in this industry. Um, a lot of which I can say are friends now as well, which is great. But once I saw that, I was like, I want to do this in Wisconsin. So started the journey of starting a chapter in Wisconsin, and our involvement's gaining and we're getting more traction, but it's been a few years. We're still working on really getting that involvement. It takes a while there,
Yeah.
but that's like, I love that. It's kind of my passion, my industry baby with the PWIPM chapter. But then that actually is how I got involved with the state board as well. So I wanted to make sure that the PWIPM chapter was always working with Wisconsin Pest Control Association to be able to kind of bridge that gap as
Right.
well. And so then I started sitting on the board. Next thing I know, I had been put into the treasurer position, which is where I'm at now, which is wonderful. And then through just going to national conferences and everything, I started to see what all these other state associations are doing. And that's when we started to kind of bring in more like the social media committee and all of that. And then the state policy and affairs stuff is kind of my second biggest involvement, I would say, there. And I kind of fell into that one too, to be honest. I got put on the public policy committee as a part of the executive leadership program with NPMA. And kind of at the same time, our SPAR role in state was up for reelection. So I kind of merged those two. And now I've learned the side of the industry that honestly scared the heck out of me when I first started, and still does sometimes, but it's a really interesting piece of industry and so important, and a part that I think gets overlooked by a lot of people as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm picking up a theme that when you come across something, like you said earlier, like you said, well, I got involved in the state association, and then I got involved in national. And I realized, hey, we can make this a lot better. And that seems to be the theme, right? Let's take what's good and make it better, and that's pretty impressive. And a lot of people don't don't do that. They don't take that next step. So now you're the treasurer. Now my experience with state associations is that you're in the progression, and one day you'll be the president. Like the next step is vice president. Is that how it works?
So our state association does not have the set progression.
Okay.
Our vice president goes to president, but other than that, we don't really have a set progression there. But I do hope at some point that our state association would like to see me go into that vice president and president seat. But right now, I'm happy with the treasurer. I'm developing a like treasurer's training program and
Okay.
all of those things to just really make that role very easy to hand over at some point too.
Awesome. All right. Well, great. Well, all right. So it's 2025. You can't have a conversation in 2025 without talking about AI, right? And you and I talked a little bit before the podcast. So I guess the question is, AI's out there. Everybody's still kind of figuring out where it's going to go, what to do with it. So what do you think of AI? What do you like? What do you dislike? What are your thoughts?
Ooh, AI. AI scares me. I will be
Yeah.
completely honest. I see a lot of really good positives to AI as far as the business analytics, the kind of efficiency side of things. But where it really kind of worries me is with the customer experience. I mentioned earlier, one of our really strong values and kind of foundation for us is personalized experience and making sure that our customers feel that personal touch. So AI, I do feel like can detract from that in the customer setting. But when it comes to business and, like I said, the business efficiencies and kind of operationally, I do see really good benefits for it there. Like there's a lot of AI call analytic, right? Kind of software happening. That's great to not have to listen to phone calls. Sounds wonderful,
Right.
right? When AI can do it. Um, but the other side of that too is that as a family business, very local to our community, we want to make sure that we're providing jobs for community as well. So um, I don't see AI like chatbots or even phone assistants necessarily in our direct future, so that we can hold on to those values. But I do see the benefits in bringing it into the business analytics and efficiency side.
Yeah. I mean, I find it interesting and applaudable. I think that you guys are willing to say, yeah, maybe we can use AI on the customer side and grow faster, or maybe we can do this or do that. But if we do that, then we're not being true to ourselves. And
Yeah,
ultimately, you have to be true to yourself to be not only successful, but to enjoy the success, in your heart, right? And I can imagine it's pretty
absolutely.
important. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
and
would
I
go ahead.
think that that also helps you to stand out a little bit to your client base and people that are reaching out to you as well. Some people really like to just hop on and do that chat, but I think a lot of people acknowledge and respect talking to a real person.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I was in a meeting yesterday with somebody, a pest control company, and they said the exact opposite. Oh, I want AI to replace people. I want I want bots. I want this. I want that. And it's just an interesting difference of perspective. And I kind of like the way you guys look at things. All right. So now we're to the last thing, which is anything you want to talk about, anything we haven't talked about, anything you want to add. It's all about you. Any other topics you would like to bring up?
So I would like to talk a little bit on work-life balance and the importance of hobbies, which
Okay, that sounds
might be
great.
a little surprising coming from somebody who seems like they might not have a very well
With a
work-life
3-page bio. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
balance. But it's something that I didn't take into consideration for years. And I actually do have to do a shout out to my husband, Zach, on this because he's the one who um, really was like, we need to get out. You need to not be on your computer. You need to, we need to do more kind of activities that way. Um, so scuba diving, I've been doing that for years with my brother. Zach is also certified now, so that's really cool. The three of us will take a day in the summer and go locally at diving around. But um, Zach actually taught me how to snowboard in the last couple of
Wow.
years. So that was very interesting learning in your mid 30s. But um, it really showed me, especially this winter, we were out like 3, 4 times a week this winter. And it really showed me the importance of taking that moment to step back and getting in nature and having that hobby that you look forward to. There were days where I was like, all right, I'm getting out of the office. I got to go hit the slopes. But I never really took work-life balance seriously until recent years. And I think that if there's one thing I could go back and kind of do differently is maybe slow the grind just a little bit to take more time.
Yeah.
So anybody who maybe feels like they're struggling on that, take the time for yourself. Business will be okay. And make sure that you're also taking care of yourself and having that extra thing to look forward to, because it's really important.
No, that's great. I do have an unusual question, and I'm going to show my ignorance. You live in Wisconsin. I've never lived more than an hour from the ocean. So when you say scuba diving, where do you scuba dive in Wisconsin? What are you looking at?
A lot of green and brown, to be
Okay.
honest, but we have a lot of lakes. There's a couple of them that actually, the one, it's about, I want to say it's like an hour and a half from us. It's a sunken gravel quarry. So they
Oh, yeah.
actually hit the spring, and this quarry filled with all of the equipment in there,
Oh, wow.
trees, everything. So that's a really good destination. Otherwise, some of the other local lakes, they've just got the fun fish that you can kind of go
Yeah.
and you can flip rocks over and you'll get crawfish, and
Oh,
like the bass will just jump on them, which is kind of cool.
that's neat.
But ocean diving is definitely my favorite. If I
Yeah.
lived closer to the ocean, I would
Yeah.
probably be in the water every day if I
Yeah.
could.
Well,
So
that's pretty. That the quarry though, that sounds really interesting. All the equipment, everything. You can go down and you can see it, right? You can see like
yeah.
the trucks. And that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yep. And other lakes will have like they'll sink a school bus or like a little mini submarine, or they'll sink different things that you can kind of go in and explore. So really the diving in Wisconsin, I would say, is more of keeping your skills up for when you go to
Got
the
it.
Caribbean or
Right.
Hawaii, or wherever you find yourself in the world.
Right, right. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Wisconsin because the old Copa days, as you
Mhm.
know, and I love it there during the summer. Beautiful, the lakes, beautiful place. Well, this has been great. I mean, I'm really excited about this conversation. I can't wait for people to hear what we talked about. But now it's fun time. Carissa, you gonna come on back? Not that this wasn't fun. Don't get me wrong. Uh,
Are we playing a game?
we're playing a game. We're gonna do it. Well, we're gonna do. I think what we're gonna do is maybe do a couple of questions, but see if we can go from there. So, you guys ready? So the way this works is I'm gonna ask a question, we all answer it, and then we talk about it. So here's the first one: You're stranded on a deserted island, and you happen to have a solar-powered television. What's the one show, a movie, TV series you would want to be stuck with that you would watch until you get rescued, if you get rescued? Breanna, you're the guest of honor. We'll let you answer first.
That's a hard question. Um,
No, nobody said this was going to be an easy podcast.
right? I would say the Pirates of the Caribbean series, if I can do the series.
Yeah, you can do a series.
Okay,
Sure.
if I can do that, because I have probably watched that more times than I care to even admit already, and I'm still not sick of it. So, like if I'm sick or not feeling well, that is the number one first thing I put on, that or
Really?
Little Mermaid. But so I would have to go with Pirates of the Caribbean.
I'm sensing a nautical theme.
Yeah.
Little Mermaid, Pirates of the Caribbean. Well, the good
I,
thing, go ahead.
Ocean Girl stranded in Wisconsin.
There you go. Yeah, and you could scuba dive if
Happily.
you had to. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's a good one because you have a lot of movies, right? I mean, you got a lot of options. That's great. You can have a one on Wednesday. All right, Carissa, what about you?
I would have to say Grey's Anatomy. Now there's like 25 seasons, so I got
Wow.
like a lot.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Well, my answer has always been the movie A Christmas Story because I just love that movie. And when my kids were little, I think it was TBS just ran it 24 hours, so it was literally on from like 8 o'clock at night, Christmas Eve, all day. It never went off the TV. So when I watch that movie, it just reminds me of my kids and Christmas and everything else. So I'm going to go with that. All right, another question. Same exact scenario, but music, performer, album, band. I'll answer first to give you time. Tom Petty, all day long. I could listen to Tom Petty. He has so many songs; they're all so good. I would pick him as long as I could listen to everything he did, not just like one album. So that's my choice.
I would have to go with some kind of island music. I will be honest, I am not a huge music person, which is, I know, the anomaly for most people, but I kind of enjoy quiet at times, but I would go, if I'm stranded on an island, I need some kind of like island steel drum
Like
kind of
calypso,
music happening.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yep. I want to feel like I'm on this island willingly.
Well, what about Under the Sea? You could play that. That's like the Little Mermaid, and yeah, that's kind of ties it in.
Yep, exactly.
That
Now
could
we're
work.
talking.
There you go. Carissa?
This is hard.
Yeah.
I really listen to all kinds of music, but if I was stuck, I'd probably say maybe some Kelly Clarkson, just something pop and light.
A moment like this. I remember when she won American Idol. That was good. It was great. All right. Well, there you go. Only two. Not too bad. Not too tough. But, all right. Well, thank you so much. Is there any final thoughts? Anything you want to share with the 8 or 9 people that are going to watch this out there? What we air?
Well, I just hope that they enjoyed it and maybe got something to take away from it. Whether it's succession or industry involvement, just make sure that you're always advocating for yourself and also doing what feels right for you and following your heart. But otherwise, I really appreciate the opportunity and thank you for having me.
It was great to have you. And I got to say, I really, I've been around a while, and I've seen a lot of transitions in companies, and I just admire the way you guys are approaching it. You've made the decision. You know what? We're going to stay true to the values of the company. We're going to stay local. We're going to do some things that other companies aren't doing. Probably wouldn't do. But that's what we need to do to believe that, to feel like this is still who we are. And I really admire that. So congratulations on that. And thank you again for being a guest. I'm so happy to have you. And I will see you hopefully soon at a conference somewhere.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
See you next time.